We're all here. We'll call the meeting to order, so you're taking these,
Yep,
yes? Okay. All right, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance to begin. That's okay. Oh, wait. Ready? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. There are extra budgets and agendas on the table if you don't have one in the audience. So we have two main items of business. We're going to be looking at the elementary budget, and we're going to be talking about the classroom, preschool classroom. The fiscal 25 budget, there are three different versions. So again, if you've not seen them, they are on the table. Put this aside because I'm going to get these guys.
I can get a little bit out of your way.
No, that's fine. Now I have two versions of everything that I'm going to get mixed up. So that's so public hearing is on our budgets. So is there any public hearing? Anybody want to say anything? Okay, I'm going to ask that you come up to the microphone so everybody at home can hear.
Which one's the microphone?
That one.
This one?
The far. That one. This. Yeah.
Okay. I just have a couple of questions.
Mm-hmm.
So it's my understanding the school committee is responsible for policy and budget, and that the superintendent and principal are responsible for programmatic decisions. But I see that in tonight's agenda under section D, the plan is for you to vote on the number of preschool classrooms for FY25. And so I'm wondering if you can help me understand how then voting on classroom configurations falls under the purview of the school committee.
So, sure. So we do vote on the configuration of the program. So if there's a change in configuration, that's something that the school committee votes on, just like last year when we voted to increase the number of preschools to 2. So we control the configuration, so the number of classrooms in that program.
Just for preschool?
No, so we would, if there's a change in the programming for, like we've asked, do we intend to have two, is it second grades or third grades? I don't want to say the number.
Current second grade going
into third grade. So in instances where there needs to be a change or a shift in the program, then that comes to the school committee.
Okay.
Particularly if there's a financial side to it. I think that's the other hook, that it, if there's budgetary constraints.
So I need to just think a little bit because my understanding is different, but I don't. I'm just gonna ask my next question, I think.
Okay.
So this year's suggested budget increase of 1.8% is significantly smaller than in past years, particularly in light of inflation and across the board cost increases. And so I'm just wondering, why does the school committee feel that budget isn't able to be supported with option 1?
Well, again, we haven't voted on any option tonight, so all options 1, 2, and 3 are still on the table. As we go through the process, we will be looking at all 1, 2, and 3 and decide from there. But we are looking overall, in general, we're looking at what does the school need, what do the students need, and then balancing that with what can the town afford. So we need to be thoughtful about that. The budget that was approved at the town floor last year was the biggest budget. That was even the biggest version that was given to us in that previous fall. And so it was a really, really large budget. So it's not unreasonable that our budget wouldn't be another huge budget, since we already have budgeted, and then we have extra in that budget that we haven't spent. So it wouldn't make sense to pass another big budget if you don't need all of that money. And so that's what we'll be looking at as we go through these budgets. Yep, come to the mic.
My name is David Crane. I'm the interim principal here at Erving Elementary School, and I'm going to read a statement. Is this sound coming through? If I stand up, so I don't have to do this? It is. Okay, no, you're fine. All right, I'm here tonight to advocate for the FY25 budget of option 1. This budget is one that best serves the requirements of the school, the needs of the students, but also considers the financial implications for the town. For a school budget to increase by only 1.8% is an absolute gift to the town of Erving, or any other town. In the other schools in the union, budgets were increased dramatically. Shutesbury, 7.27%, Leverett, 5.22%, and Swift River, 3.95%. Additionally, this budget, option 1, is a budget that compels 0 educator layoffs and 0 increase to the town, and still manages to add professional mental health support to the staff, which is essential. There's a tremendous demand for additional professional mental health support staff in our school, and I've been saying that since I arrived at Erving. To ignore that need by voting in a budget that is anything less than 1.8% is not only callous, but it demonstrates a breathtaking lack of awareness and understanding of the profound needs of the children here at Erving Elementary. And according to school committee policy DA, quote, "It is the committee's intent to establish levels of funding that will provide high-quality education for the students," end quote. As we seek to increase the capacity to meet the mental health needs of our children by creating a dedicated space in the school that will work with a wide range of social emotional challenges, academic challenges, and behavioral challenges, our school needs the flexibility and the resources to devote to this space. This 1.8% budget allows that to happen. For all of these reasons, option 1 at 1.8% should be the budget that's approved tonight. Thanks.
I like a lot of what you said, and I appreciate the percentages used. However, the actual numbers for the different schools are significantly different than just the percentages. And historically and continually, the other schools have significantly lower actual numbers. When we look at the individual budgets that are put together here, I guess there's pieces of it that I would not entirely clear on, but I agree with the concepts of what you said, and the idea that cutting down the percentage increase is significant. I don't have any trouble with that, basically because we have historically been the highest spending school in the district and continue to be so even with this budget and this low percentage increase.
Yep. All right, any other? Okay. So, we're gonna move on. Any other public hearings about anything unrelated to the budget? Okay. All right, so we will now dive deep into the budget versions. Again, we have versions on the table if you don't have any in front of you. They are different in a couple of different ways, and they are similar in a couple of different ways. So I'm feeling like for ease of operation, instead of trying to go back and forth between different budget versions, that I would like to try and focus on one budget and then modify it as necessary, so that we are not trying to flip back and forth and get a little bit confused. So does that make sense and seem reasonable to everybody?
Sounds like a good start.
Would you like me to give a synopsis of the three budgets?
Sure.
So the first budget, understanding that the school committee wanted a level funded budget,
You're talking about draft what?
draft, yeah, option one, went from still has a had a 1.89% increase, but after tonight's amended Union 28 budget, has a 1.83% increase, but increasing the revenue dependence on some of our grants and other funding. We were able to get down to a town appropriation of 0%, so completely level funded for the town appropriation. For option two, we were asked to see what would happen if the school did a reduction in force and had a.
So, hold on.
Yeah.
So when we had our meeting on Tuesday, we came to an amount that we were gonna vote on. Due to some just extra caution for procedures, we were asked to have this meeting tonight to re-vote on the budget to make it more official, since we were kind of changing the numbers around and it wasn't quite clear what budget we were looking at. So we agreed, sure, just to make sure everything is clear, we will have another meeting with budget. With that being said, knowing that we were having this meeting, I had requested a budget within that original number that we talked about on Tuesday, which was the amount of $4,055,112. And I requested that we see what that budget looked like with the reduction of the superintendent, which we knew the salary was going to be a little less, so we wanted to reflect that, knowing that that was available. And then we wanted to reflect what grant is it? Sorry.
The ESSER grant.
The
circuit breaker.
Circuit breaker, and then we wanted to, that was also under the assumption that our vote that we couldn't have about preschool was still how the committee felt. And so my request was to have one budget with that amount. And then when we were talking, you were like, well, if I can make the number for the town appropriation part to be the same, but that larger budget number still be there, can I present that one as well? Yes, that's fine. And then we talked about the third option where we were.
You were just talking about option one, about increasing circuit breaker and.
We wanted to see the grants accurately reflected through all of them.
Well, they're all estimates on what we'll receive for grants,
But we know
circuit
now
breaker
on
is
circuit
a-
breaker. So that's where we were hoping.
No, it's still an estimate.
Okay.
Okay.
If you want
So-
to say that.
So I guess what I'm saying is I, as a school committee member, we have not talked about this, and there has never been talking about a reduction in force. That is not our purview. Our purview is to vote on a budget, and then what leadership decides to do within that budget is up to them. We don't know the certification of teachers. We don't know, maybe someone can cover here and someone can cover there. We're not saying, we were never asking when we asked for these different budget options, a reduction in workforce. So I just want to make sure that that's clear and being said, that if that was decided when we said we wanted this total number budget and we wanted to see what that would look like, and that was decided by leadership to then reduce workforce somehow, then that was the decision that was made. But when I requested the budgets, I never said, let's see what it looks like with a reduction of force in staff. So I just want to make sure that's clear.
So the last meeting, you discussed a reduction of a preschool classroom and the salary of the preschool teacher and a para.
So we never said reduction for salary and para. We said we were going to reduce it to where we can keep the para and advocate for the para, because we know that that can be used. And we wanted to reduce it so that there's also enough money there for an adjustment counselor to then be hired. So once again, I don't know what the staffing is looking like. Maybe there is someone that could be an adjustment counselor that is in another position that could move into that, and then it would stay the same. But I don't know that. So how you get to be able to support those different positions that you want to support within the school, the funding is there, and that decision on how that works is then up to the leadership.
Thank you.
Could I ask a question, please?
Yeah.
You'll have to go up to the microphone.
My pleasure. So I guess I need some clarity. You've asked, there are 3 budget options being presented, but they aren't really options if you don't plan on voting on all 3 of them. Is that correct? Do you plan on looking at all 3 of these options and making a decision among all 3 of them about which to vote?
Ultimately, we have to vote on one version, so I'm
That's
not
right.
sure what
But-
you're asking.
So I'm asking is that why wasn't one version prepared? You voted on one, wrongly last week.
Not wrongly.
You voted on one version of a budget and you pushed it through.
Mhm.
So now, is that the version that you're presenting to the public?
The amounts are the same. And one actually was, like what we tried to vote on last time, which brought us back to this meeting, is that same amount that we were going to adjust the budget to the $4,055,112. And the way it was worded in last meeting and the way that we were trying to vote on it, there was some, it was suggested that we come back and just re-vote what we were doing that. And so with that came news about some other things that we were like, hey, we're already having to come to this meeting and make readjustments in other ways. Let's make sure everything is there accurately reflected so that we can see that as a whole.
So if it's all accurately reflected, then I don't understand how there are 3 options.
So I requested one with that amount, and then Caitlin said, hey, we actually could do it this way, so I'll present that option as well.
I see.
And then with the third one, I think I just didn't explain it right, so it wasn't exactly what I was looking for, but it's fine.
Okay,
We just wanted to look at different options to see what that looked like.
So just for clarity's purpose then, the money is all the same in all 3 budgets?
No.
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 So, and in some budgets, there is room to keep all of the teachers that we currently have on staff. And in some budgets, there is not room because of the amount of monies that's going to be appropriated. Is that accurate? Even though you say you don't make those decisions, is that accurate?
I'm not going to agree to that because if we don't make those decisions, there are different amounts of money
I
in
see.
different versions of the
Okay, so there are
budget.
different amounts of money, but they're all the same? They're all the same amount?
Within the budget. there
No,
are-
I understand, but I really.
One is
want to
not the
get-
same amount, 2 are the same amount. Is that
Okay.
what you're asking?
And the one, which is option 1, is 1.8% more than option 2 and option 3.
With the assumption that there is a need for 2 preschool classrooms. So there's a teacher there
Yes.
in the budget. And so there is enough money in that budget that we then said, so Caitlin presented in February 2 budgets, right? One was level service, one was adding an adjustment counselor.
Right,
At that point, we requested enrollment for preschool.
right.
And we received those numbers,
Right.
and there is not enough enrollment to support the 2 preschool classrooms. So what I tried to do was going back to that, I was referring to the level service budget amount that we needed because that amount still included to have an adjustment counselor as a staff person available. And the way that it was worded, it couldn't be that way because I referred to a different budget that wasn't made available. So essentially, I'm bringing back, the suggestion was to bring back that level service budget amount, and that's what we have.
Okay, so the level service amount that you have in all 3 options, actually in 2 options, option 2 and option 3, there is room for everybody except 1 teacher. regardless of where that person is.
If they're an adjustment counselor, they can be an adjustment counselor.
Right, is that
The
accurate? But
staff
what
that you are
happens-
requesting is the same in number of staff.
Okay,
So it's staff to staff, yes, it's exactly the same.
Okay, so that means that no matter which budget, it doesn't require any teacher to be laid off. That's your
I
not
don't
our
know.
decision.
I don't know.
It's not your decision, but it seems to me that the exact amount of money that would be required to maintain a, am I boring you?
Me?
No, Caitlin. She just rolled her eyes at me, so I'm.
I did?
curious. No, I'm sorry, Mackenzie. So.
I put my glasses on. I'd like you
Anyway,
to.
my point is.
Go ahead, finish your
My point
point.
is that you are in fact laying somebody off by taking the different budgets and putting them in front of us. That's actually de facto what's happening.
So,
No, I think we're just gonna move on. Okay,
Wait,
thank
no.
you for the piece of information.
I want to say
Okay.
that what I see out there going on is that the population of children in town.
I'm sorry.
Not registration, but the population of children in the town for preschool does not support 2 classrooms. How that is responded to, is, up to you. And there is actually enough money in our budget here that should there be enough children moving into town, because the discussion started last time with the census numbers of preschool children in town. And, we've asked you to report back to us on an ongoing basis if those numbers change, the registration numbers, so that there can be 2 of those classrooms. What else is there to do about it? Come with a proposal about where those staff should move and where they should be. There actually is plenty of money in our budgets in various and sundry places to shuffle things around. But, there aren't children. So if there aren't enough children for a second classroom, there shouldn't be a second classroom. And maybe that staff member needs to be moved to some other responsibility. I don't know what the choices are. The reality is, for some reason, we don't have enough preschool children in town. I don't know what to say about that.
the only other thing that I'll say to that is that we had a school committee meeting on August 1st and August 22nd of this past year. And at both school committee meetings, we were very clear in that we were voting to reinstate a second preschool classroom just for the 2023-24 school year, and that we would keep an eye on enrollment to look to see if that was a position that needed to stay. And so this has been a constant conversation and something that we are constantly monitoring throughout the year. And so that's why when we even talked about the budget in February, I really wanted to know what preschool numbers were and wanted to see what that would look like. I investigated what the preschool classroom somewhat costs. I really wanted to know based on that enrollment, because this has been a constant conversation, even as back as July. And so that job was posted as a preschool teacher 2023-24, and that's what we had asked. What was decided on within hiring that person, I'm not sure, and if it sounds like maybe that has changed, but I just want to share that we've been having this conversation for the last year.
Okay. So we're gonna move forward.
Can I ask you a
And-
question?
It's just about, so level funded and level service are different?
Yes, so level service is keeping, go ahead, you have another question?
Yeah, just because, so this is level, so this budget that's, gosh, I don't know. It's this last 2 ones, they both are very similar to me. So it says, is this level serviced or level funded? Are these 2 last
None of
ones?
them are level funded.
So they're level serviced?
Serviced.
Okay, so that's why there's a decrease in the amount for our budget. Like it goes from last year, our operating budget was $4,058,739, And then the requested budget for FY '25 is less. So that's because it's level service rather than
That's
level
because there's
funded.
changes within the budget.
All right, I was just wondering why
All
there was
sorts
a
of different
decrease
places.
from last year.
Yeah. Okay, so again, we have 3 versions. I'm gonna suggest that we focus on one version, that we make a motion to focus on one version so that we are not moving back and forth between versions and confusing ourselves and others.
I make the motion that we stick with option 1 as a starting point. If that's
Option.
what you'd like to stick with that? Is that agreeable? Well, I'll put that out as a motion. And you can second it or not.
I was just gonna say originally, I just wanna stay away from 2 if possible. Don't think it accurately reflects the circuit breaker. All the circuit breaker amounts on 1 and 3 are different from 2. So I'm
Okay.
voting to at least get, or making a motion to stay away from that one.
Well, can we just start with number 1
Um,
and make our adjustments off of that?
I would like to not do that, so I'm not gonna second
Okay,
it.
all right, so no second, that dies.
Yeah, I'd like to start with
So
3.
do we have another budget? Which budget do we want to work from?
I would like to suggest that we work from option 3. I think it's the cleaner version, and then we can make adjustments as necessary. So I make a motion that we work from option 3. So we'll need a second on that if people are
Second.
amenable. I'm going to give Caitlin a chance, because Caitlin's also wonderfully taking notes, so we're just going to move so that she can capture what we're doing. 'Cause I very much appreciate you taking notes.
And this is on draft. Okay.
So we have a motion and a second for option 3. Okay?
Yep.
So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so for ease of operation, we're going to focus on option 3. Option 3 includes the grants as projected. So our circuit breaker grant, or circuit breaker amount, it's not a grant, is projected to be $122,500. So we anticipate that, so that's reflected in there.
Page are you on?
I'm on the very last page, all the way to the back. So the budget drivers. Oh, yours isn't pretty blue.
You have one pretty blue.
I have a question. Are there lines you would like to decrease, or the salary lines are impacted?
Hang on one second, we're just doing a little bit of paperwork shuffle. I do not.
I don't have a blue one.
Oh, then I printed it out.
Yeah.
Somewhere else, that's why it's blue. Because I printed it out somewhere else, but this is the page that we're looking at.
Is that not this one? This is the one before that?
It's, nope, should be the one after.
Oh, here we go.
Right there.
Got it. I told you I need help with numbers.
That's all right.
I need to enlarge it, actually, pull it up on the computer and enlarge it.
You can do that too? Oh, no.
I'm not gonna.
Okay. Okay. So.
And I just wanted to share that I did ask where an adjustment counselor would be paid out of, and it was line 38, therapeutic services.
Line 38, therapeutic services. But that one, there's no adjustment to.
Right. If we were, I just wanted to let everyone know that that's where that would be paid out of.
I want to make sure the para line, that's what I'm looking for, has not been adjusted.
It has.
Yeah.
And it is 42. I marked that.
Yeah. All right, so we'll take that.
The only 2 differences
42.
of lines throughout all the budgets were 35 and 42. I see you. Hold
No,
on.
that's
okay.
okay. I would say caca or something.
But that doesn't, I don't think that equals what we were talking about before. Yeah, that doesn't, okay. Go ahead, you ask your question while we
Yeah,
do,
okay.
do some math.
So budgets are like, phew. So just wondering about the whole like staff and like, it sounds like tomato, potato, whatever. So you're saying that it's, the staff is not affected by the budget, but didn't we say that we wanna hire a therapeutic speech person? Yes? So there's money in this budget to hire somebody?
I'm not sure what position you're referring to, the
Didn't you say line 38?
Adjustment counselor.
adjustment
Oh, is
counselor.
that, so that's what we're looking to hire and that's the line they're paid out of. So like that's the salary that we're like setting aside in case we hire somebody?
We're currently looking at line items to adjust that, but our
Right.
thought is the number of staff would be able to stay the same, and that would include an adjustment counselor within that grand total number. So if there were 20 staff, like in that number represented,
Okay.
that could be it.
Okay.
How that is configured with staffing on certifications and requirements and stuff like that, I don't know
Okay.
if anyone, would be able to do that, but in the budget would have enough money to support an adjustment counselor.
Okay. Just because I was wondering, I was like, well, if we're paying one person 111,000 and then we're taking away the exact salary of a teacher, to me it kind of does feel like we're saying, okay, we'll hire somebody in this line, but take away somebody in this line. Like, I know you're not actually saying it because you're like, well, these are the numbers, it's up to you. But as somebody looking on the outside, if I understand it right, that's kind of what it looks like. But just
The
saying.
therapeutic line holds like speech, PT, OT, like, so it's
Right.
more than one person.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Aren't we only looking to hire one?
Yes.
Okay.
For like 76 was like what the thought process was if they had like higher degrees.
Okay.
But it would obviously depend on like step and experience and all that stuff. And that job has been posted for a while and there hasn't been any interest. So it's like a hope that
Okay.
they would be able to find someone.
Has that position been funded for benefits as yet?
I did ask that, and they said that they are able to fund it.
Okay, because that
That's
was
it.
a previous question.
Okay, I have one more question.
And that adding, that 11,
111,
yeah, that would be adding that.
Right, no, I know, but I
Okay.
didn't know if that was like the salary one person makes. I don't know. I'm a
The-
stay-at-home mom. I don't make any
when
money,
we
so.
were asking what the budget would need for an adjustment counselor, I think it was like 76 or
Okay.
78, something around there.
Okay, so that's somebody with wiggle room. So,
And it also could be like COLAs, steps, like people, the raises, like
Okay.
would be built into this as well. So there's probably 1, 2, 3, 4. I think the BCBA might be under this, so 6. So there's like at least 6 or 7 staff within that line.
okay, so say leadership decided to keep everyone on staff now, and so like it could happen later. I know I'm really new to this, but like there's meetings where like you move money from one line to another, like that can happen.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what we're looking at right now.
Sorry, I'm so
no,
sorry.
you're good, you're
That's
good.
fine. At any point, that can happen.
Okay.
If there's a need.
Okay.
Okay, so what I want to do is find somewhere for that teacher para line. So, Mark, I'm looking at line 42, has a reduction, but I don't support reducing paras because I know we need them and we have a need for them. So what I'm doing now is just looking to see where that money can be taken from instead. I think
So how much do we need to increase that number?
we don't need to increase it, we just need to take,
Flip flop some things around.
yeah, find somewhere else for the 3720.
I get where, yeah, I'm trying to figure out how much we need to find.
How much what?
How much we need to find.
Yeah, 3720. My feeling is we have a lot in materials, especially since we still have ESSER money to spend down. So that would be a place that I would look to potentially reduce.
We have 49 and 53 are under supplies materials.
Yep, 1 second.
Could you guys just give line numbers?
Yep, 49 and 53 is what we were just talking about. Sorry, if you can't hear us, just let us know. 49 and 53 are both instructional materials, instructional supplies, instructional materials.
And we're looking at 42, where the 3,720 was reduced.
But that still is not,
It doesn't equal.
yeah, so where's the extra? Caitlin, can you highlight where, besides line 40, nope, hang on, besides line 35 and 42 have reductions in them based on our conversation at the last meeting? Where else there was reductions?
I would need some time.
Look back.
Can you do that while we're talking? Because that only equals, if my math is correct, which somebody should double check, $50,103-ish. And we, again, last meeting had talked about a reduction of, I don't remember the exact number, but it was somewhere in the 70s. So I'm just wondering where the other 20,000 is being reflected, or was it not reflected?
I would need time to look back.
To have a complete answer on that. I know that between options 1 and 2 or 3 is $78,046.
Say that again.
The difference between option 1 and 2 and 3 is $78,046.
But you can't find where the 78,000 is being reflected?
We reduced the salary line and the paraprofessional line.
Right, but you didn't reduce it by 70, you only reduced it,
I reduced it by $78,046.
Just
Well-
those lines.
Just those lines.
so one was reduced by 46,383. That's line 35. And then line 42, which is the teacher para, was reduced by 3,720. So my math shows that that's $50,000, not 76,000. So that's where I'm wondering where the difference is.
I would need more time, but the options, the difference in the budget for options 1 and 2 is $78,046.
Right, I hear you saying that, but I'm wondering where that came from. Those two lines that you just mentioned, 35, that I mentioned, 35 and 42, lines 35 and 42 do not equal that amount. So if you could please just look through and tell me where else the where else.
So I think this is a common confusion. It's not a reduction from the FY24 budget to the FY25 budget. It's a reduction from the voted on FY25 budget back in February to the now draft of the FY25 budget.
Okay, so can you show me where then that is?
We would have to go back to the budget that was voted on back in February to look at that budget. Or option 1, the difference between option 1 and option 2.
It would
Or 3.
78,000 be listed somewhere on here, because I'm not even seeing a 78,000 number.
Those are the differences between option 1 and option 2 and 3.
Okay, when I see the net total elementary and the difference is 77,024, is that the accurate number, or are you saying it's even less?
So it's a difference between the 1.83% increase to $4,133,158 to options 2 and 3 that have $4,055,112. That is the $78,046 reduction.
The problem I'm having is that if we want to move anything around, can't do it unless we can have some line-based information. You know, you can't build something back up unless we have some information on lines instead of looking at totals for the entire budget.
There are budget driver pages requested last meeting. If you look further, there's this, the budget with driver information.
Are you considering the little asterisks to be the driver information?
Yes.
So in the past, the driver information had quite a bit more. As a quick aside, I know because we pulled it up from 2 years ago that you created. So in the future, if we could go back to looking like what we had 2 years ago, that was more helpful. It has more information on it. All right, well, I'm gonna, for the moment, focus on the 7320. Go ahead.
No, I said Scott is standing
Oh.
if you wanted to.
Sorry, Scott, yep. My head's down, I didn't notice, thank you.
I just had a question, Caitlin. I wasn't able to make it to the last meeting, and the expenditure report, the encumbrances for special education out of district, is that encumbered through the rest of the school year?
I would have to check at the last expenditure report and get back to you.
It still had a significant balance, and I just wanted to know if that was just through that date, or through, if you're encumbering through the end of the year. Because that has a big impact on future budgets as well.
Yeah, I'll get back to you. You're welcome.
Do you have these?
No, no.
It's after.
I have it on this version.
That might help answer.
Yeah, but it's still not a lot of information.
No.
So I'm gonna suggest that we look, again, more closely at line 49 and 53 to recoup the 3720. I don't wanna touch that line at all. So I would like to suggest that we take that from line 53, instructional supplies. It still has $20,000 in it. And again, we have ESSER money as well as other miscellaneous funds that potentially could be used for instructional supplies. ESSER runs through September 30th, so the bulk of that money is going to be used for instructional supplies. That's what you had said, correct?
We do not have any more ESSER 3 instructional supply money.
You had said, you had sent an email saying that the contracted services and the other budget line out of ESSER was going to be converted into instructional supplies?
No, I'll have to look at the email, but it was not going to go into instructional supplies.
Where did it go?
I'll have to check.
My suggestion, I guess I'm going to make it a formal motion. I'll make the motion that we reduce the instructional line 53 from, let me just do some math. Yeah, I just got to do the math. Use my phone, it'll be a lot quicker.
While you're doing math, I just have another quick question. I noticed that 42 and 43, which are both paralines, one was reduced and it says estimates for Unit B salaries, and then the other one was reduced saying reduction of part-time educator. Are that reduction that we were saying to reduce the 78,000, did you take out of both of those lines, or did you only take out of line 43?
Just line 43.
Okay, so that's the number we should look at. Even though that looked the same to me.
So it's not line 42, it's line 43? Caitlin?
Should be line 43, yes.
Okay.
So option one had the paraprofessional amount in that line, which we reduced to a 0% impact on the town. But options 2 and 3, the reductions are in the salary lines.
Can you say that one more time, Caitlin?
So option 1, when asked to have a 0% increase to the town, we increased our revenues, our reliance on our revenues. And then when we provided that, we were asked to see what it would look like if we didn't have the preschool classroom and paraprofessional.
I'm sorry, what was that you just said?
We were asked what it would look like to not have the,
We just were asking for a total budget amount. We never referred to line items.
Nope.
and then option 3 was what if we don't have the programming and then we also increase the revenue lines. So that's option 3 that's on the table right now.
So it looks like 43, line 43, teacher para salary special education, which is 153,224 that you're saying was adjusted, is actually the same requested in budget 1, in budget level service in February, and in the other February one. So that one has not changed since February, that line. The line item that has been changed though, in the third budget compared to all the other budgets, is line 42.
Oh. You might be right there with we have some paraprofessionals in the special education category and some not, and that may have just been listed under the wrong one.
Okay, I don't know what amount you want.
So work it through with me. Why on line 42 of option 1, that para budget line is 310,559.
Mm-hmm.
But in option 3, line 42, that budget is now down to 299,940.
I had to reduce the paraprofessional salary amounts to be able to hit the amount requested by the school committee.
I mean, you could have picked anywhere. Why pick that?
That was the implication of reducing a preschool classroom.
That was not the implication. That was not the request. So we need to increase that line back up to 310,559. Otherwise, there will be an impact to that class of people, that group of people, correct?
Yes.
So that whole amount is actually 68.99. Yeah.
Yep. So 6,899 is the difference between fully funding that line and what you have reflected in this budget.
So you're still making these adjustments and stuff?
I'm just trying to figure out the exact amount. Because what is taken away here isn't actually the full adjusted amount.
We're still off, but at least I can, so I will work on putting that money back in.
Or is it even more?
It shouldn't be more.
110, 5 million minus.
No, it's
10.
so annoying. Yep, you're right. It's $10,619 difference.
That's quite a amount.
I would guess up to 57, but it's still not the 70 something that we requested, so.
What are we up to and what are we looking for?
So the difference in that para line that was reduced was actually 10,619. So that's what would need to be put back in order to make that line whole. That though, coupled with the line 35, which is 46,383. All right, so.
And I caution again, please stop looking at the FY24 budget to the FY25 budget. You really need to look at the FY25 budget in option 3 as opposed to the the option 1 budget. So it's more than 46,000 because that doesn't absorb the COLAs and other increases.
Say that again?
The total you need to reduce by is $78,046 total between the, for option 3, with the teacher salary line decreased and the paraprofessional line decreased. If you're going to absorb that amount in other lines, it's $78,046.
What I'm trying to focus on right now is line 42, teacher para salaries. And I'm trying to determine what the actual amount that you decreased it by to create option 3.
Yes, but you also have to do so for the line 35. No, wait, not.
Yeah, I'm not worrying about that right now. What I'm worrying about is the para line. In order to make that line whole, am I understanding that that line 42, needs to be, in order to fund it properly, $310,559?
Yes.
And in option 3, you had reduced it to $299,940. So, if our math is correct, in order to make that line whole, $10,619 needs to be added back to that line. Is that correct?
I'd have to calculate it, but it sounds about right.
Okay, well, I'm calculating. If you could calculate it too, that would be helpful, just to double check and make sure that we are calculating it properly. And so we don't go through this whole thing only to find out that there's been a mistake made.
Did you get 10?
619? Yep. So, knowing that we need to, at this moment, put back in $10,618, I'm going to suggest that we that we look at line 53, instructional supplies, reduce that to 10,000, and take the additional 619 from instructional technology materials, line 55.
Are you gonna reduce that too?
So line 53 would be reduced by 10,000. Again, we have other monies that are available for that.
And then
And then instructional technology materials, we reduce that by the remaining 619.
Why are you gutting the budget?
I am trying to make whole the teacher para line.
But it's a decrease to the town.
What?
It's a decrease to the town. You were given 3 options, and 2 were a 0% increase to the town, and 1's a decrease.
Well,
And
if
so
we-
you're hiring your educators, but you're not giving them the tools they need to do their job. Why?
I disagree. We have other funding available for instructional supplies. So
We don't.
That is covered. I'm not giving them the supplies that they need. The actual amount that they used out of that line in 2023 was $4,756. So understanding that some of that was taken from other funding sources, we also still have other funding sources. So I am tapping into those other funding sources to cover that, and thereby making that para line whole again, so that there is no impact to the para line, because we know that there is a need for paras. And so I'm not interested in reducing that line. So I will make a motion to formalize it and put it on the table, that we reduce line 53 by $10,000, and we reduce line 55 by 619. If you don't want to do them separately, I'm happy to do them separately.
Line 55?
Line 55. Line 53, instructional supplies, and line 55, instructional technology materials. Again, if you'd rather them do separately, I can do that.
Do them combined.
Okay.
619.
I'm sorry?
No, I'm just trying to follow along.
Okay. Let me know if you need me to say it again.
No, does that work?
Line 53,
And
and then line 55.
55.
Yep, 618. For a total of
And-
$10,618.
To our knowledge, we've also been told that there's like 35,000 this year that we're having to find a way to spend from a grant.
From rural aid, which
From rural aid.
isn't actually a grant, but
And then there's still a lot of ESSER money that was not used. And so the thought process here, just to share, is that there is still a lot of funding available within this current budget and ESSER that can be used up until, I think it's the end of September, which could still happen for this fiscal year, that materials can be bought. And so the hope would be that there's materials can be bought in excess now to save for next year, not to decrease the supplies that are available to educators. Because we keep getting emails saying, oh, this grant needs to be spent, or this funding is available, and here's $35,000, and here's an extra. When we found out about circuit breaker, it went from, for next year, it went from $65,000 to $122,000. So while it might look like we're just cutting in supplies, that's not the thought process. The thought process is that we have a lot of money that is out there, and we're asking what is to be done with it, and we're hoping that that money can help support some of this so that we can keep our other educators as well. Did I word that right?
mm-hmm, yep. Yeah, so looking at the ESSER budget that Caitlin shared, there's still right now $5,929.12 in supplies. There's another $6,333 in stipends and $17,110 in contracted services, with the understanding that those lines, the stipends and the contracted services, were not going to be used for those, so they will be adjusted and amended. So there is quite a bit of material money available. So I'm not at all interested in cutting pencils and paper from children, but we do have other funding sources that we do need to use that have deadlines on their use. And so it makes sense for us this year to do that. Next year will be different. And when I say next year, I mean fiscal 26, when we are looking at the budget. But we have the money this year. There's no reason to continue to ask the taxpayers for the money if we have it in other funds that need to be used.
Okay, you made a motion, right?
Yeah, I did. Mark accepted it together.
Okay, sorry, hold on. I'll give it So 10,000 from line 53 and 619 from line 55.
May I speak?
Are you, one second, we're,
Okay, so motion to move 10,000 from line 53, Mark seconded, and, 10,000 from 53, 619 from 55, and Mark seconded.
yes.
Okay.
So any other discussion about that?
No discussion. I mean, I think there are more other areas that there are some funds available that are actually in the budget. I mean, given the numbers that we've historically turned back or had unspent each year. So those will come out. And somewhat, I've asked for some of that information for next school committee meeting.
Okay.
So
Do you feel comfortable with
I'm
that?
comfortable with this motion, putting the money up into para
Oh, yeah, moving it
educators.
to,
Okay. And then, I don't know, maybe I should, maybe I'll make that as a.
Never mind.
Oh.
Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
moving it to 42,
What?
moving it to 42.
Yeah, so that's why I'm procedurally, I'm not sure that I should tack that on to the end or make it a second motion, but the intention is to move it to line 42. So I can tack it on to the other motion, or I can make it a whole new motion, whichever you guys feel more comfortable with, but that is the intention.
No, I just said with the intent of moving it to line 42.
Okay, so let me just rephrase then. So I'd like to make a motion, can I withdraw?
Yes.
Make it clean. I make a motion that we reduce line 53 by $10,000 instructional supplies and line 55 instructional technology supplies by $619, and move that money, $10,619, to line 42.
Okay.
Is that clear, everybody, what my intentions are?
Yep.
Okay.
Mark, do you still want a second?
Second.
Or- Okay, perfect. That's what I have written down.
Okay. So there's a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, so that puts that line whole, makes that line whole. Was there anything else? There's no change in the bottom line because we're simply just moving from one place to the other.
Yeah, the whole total budget number stays the same.
Yep.
And
I will remind you, as somebody, I'm sorry, I don't know your name, but in the event that money needs to be shifted from within the budget, that is something that we can do at any point during the year at a school committee meeting, if need be, so.
I feel like a need to repeat something from previous time, which was that preschool has been a rolling, changing thing. And we set up a process at the last meeting to continually get information so that if there needed to be adjustments made, we could make those adjustments. And although, as I said, the numbers of preschool students are based on the census of children of that age in the school, in the town, there's not just, how many parents have returned registrations or who have registered, but, if we went out and grabbed every one of them and brought them in, the number that we would have.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was a total of 15 or something.
Right,
Less.
but
If suddenly we got more and there was a need to change things, we can do it within, budgetary constraints.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that's true. Okay, does anybody have anything else that they are looking to do?
What other changes in budgets numbers? did
I
we-
don't know what the 111,919 includes.
Where are you?
On 38, I don't know if that includes the adjustment counselor, and then we don't have to touch anything, like, do you know what I mean?
I don't know. Our principal and our business manager have left the meeting, it looks like. So, it is our intent, it is my intent to hire an adjustment counselor. That was always my intent. That was when we asked the administration what they needed, that's what they identified as their need, was an adjustment counselor. So, I have, my intention is to hire an adjustment counselor because that was seen as what they needed.
Do we have any understanding as to, how long has the ad been out there that we've been looking for that person?
Almost a year,
It's been a while.
8 months.
And the only other question I would have is, do we have any understanding of other school districts that are also looking for people like that? And, is there something in the way of getting in the way? There's not enough people,
There's not enough.
There's just not enough people. I think one of the other schools in our district for next year is hiring a full-time one as well.
or hasn't.
Watching the way these things are conducted, these meetings, and feeling like, I don't want to work in Irving.
You need to come up to the microphone if you want to speak. I can't, people at home can't hear, so it's important that we make it so that everybody can hear.
No, my question is simply, are there people out there for these jobs? And what you're saying is that
No.
another school has an opening that's not able to be filled.
Yes, many districts right now are looking for these types of people, BCBAs, school adjustment counselors, school psychologists, and they cannot find them. It's not unique to Irving. It is every district around here is looking for these and cannot find them.
And the only other question I have is, our salary for that position competitive
Much.
with our others? Traditionally, our salaries have been high.
Yes.
And I would assume this one is.
It is.
I've not been
It's,
out
I
there
don't want to say
looking
it's
at
high,
this.
but it's certainly comparable, if not better
Yeah.
than many districts. Yeah, that's not the barrier either. It's simply that there's not enough of these people out there. There's such a need for these types of positions. I don't want to say people, positions, and we can't fill them. So if you were to ask the districts around here, they're all going to tell you the same thing. Go ahead.
Katie, by the way.
Sorry,
My name's
I
Katie.
apologize.
No, that's okay. So I guess I just want to call out the elephant in the room that there's such palpable tension between the school staff and the school committee, especially the principal. But I just want to give my perspective because I just like standing at this microphone. David Crane was brought in as a neutral party to help this school that when I started coming to the school committee meetings was like a dumpster fire. So this man came in and was like, I'll take the dumpster fire. And I actually, for one, am very encouraged by his passion. He's heated. People get a little sassy when they're heated. I understand. But the fact that he cares so much about this school to me is inspiring as a parent because it's nice to have leadership that I feel like is actually standing up for the teachers and for the staff, and I felt like that was a little lacking previously, so I for one feel encouraged by it, and I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Was there some discussion prior to this about the transportation budget? You know, and the van and reductions or changes that needed to be done?
Nope. Nope, I am looking forward to getting an update on that. It sounded like we hired a person, so I'm hopeful that that can get implemented soon, now that we've hired somebody.
What was Mark's question? Sorry, can you just repeat what you were wondering?
Last year, as part of our discussions, the decision was made that the town would purchase a van.
That we would
and
purchase. Mark, let me just correct you.
Yes, sorry.
We, out of our budget, we budget.
Out of our budget, we would purchase a van that was for our students for special need transportation. And that happened in November, and we were hoping to get a driver and have the van functional sooner than this. You know, we're not sure where it stands right now. But it would probably cut the cost of transporting students easily in half.
Right. No, I was just gonna say, in this, there's a lot of moving parts within the budget, and one of it was an unknown increase of $57,500 for the circuit breaker, which in the draft one, I think, was just kind of added as extra money and wasn't actually applied within the budget. And so that's also what we asked for with 3 is, yay, we've got this extra funding, how are we gonna utilize it? We can't just put it in a line item of circuit breaker money and just say we go from 65,000 to 122,500 and yay us, we have more money. And so part of this conversation as well was, hey, we found out we have this money, how are we gonna allocate that money and where is that going to go to? And how can we support our budget with that, and have those numbers be reflected? So there's, and then, like I said, the salary of the superintendent and some other things that have moved around, that this isn't to cut services, this isn't to cut people, it's really to look at what the needs are. And we were shared that there's not a need for 2 preschool classrooms due to enrollment. That was what we were told when we asked. And the need that was needed for the school was an adjustment counselor. And so with this budget, all of that can happen. If there was a need for an extra teacher or a need for this, then we're just asking for that to be communicated with us, and that hasn't been communicated. In all of the meetings that we've asked, how do we get the LSC? How do we support these children? How do we make sure social and emotional needs are met? You know, they brought in that extra counselors and everything, that's all wonderful. And so when we're asking these questions, those are the exact answers that we got, that the enrollment is not showing we need 2 preschools and that we need an adjustment counselor. And so, okay, great. Within this budget, that fully supports all of that. Exactly. And how that gets allocated through, it has movement. And that's kind of what we were doing tonight, along with knowing that there are, not even in this budget, are additional funds that need to be used up. And every time we get reports on those fundings, things happen because we can't hire someone. We wanted to hire them at the beginning of the year. We didn't hire them till February. Well, all of that ESSER money that we were going to use from September to February now needs to find a new home. And so it's this constant reallocation of budget money. And so we're constantly asking for updates on that. And like I said, this recent update was, okay, now we have $35,000 here. Oh, now we have $10,000 now here. And then if you look at our line items of what we've expended this year within this year's budget, there's still money. And so it's just a matter of really trying to look at our needs and asking for that information. That's the information that we received, and we can find all of those supports and positions within this number that we had suggested.
I got a question. I know I'm sort of cutting.
Nope, you're good. I will leave it at that.
You're running along, yeah. The additional counseling staff, was that in this year's budget in case they hired the person?
Well,
No,
we did hire one. So one
The second one,
person
there
was being taken out of the ESSER, the school, I'm going to mix up the titles.
School adjustment counselor.
School adjustment counselor, thank you.
And
was
BCBA and
So is there a person that
psychologist.
that was to be hired this year that wasn't hired? In the counseling stuff?
we have a BCBA. We hired, yeah.
But it's
Through
just,
ESSER money, which we won't have next year.
But
But-
they're in our budget now.
Yes.
So
Okay.
everybody is accounted for in the budget. No, I shouldn't say it that way. The BCBA is now going to be absorbed into the budget. Is that,
now my question
ask again,
was,
sorry.
did we have allocated a certain amount of money for this year that was either partially used for these positions or not used in any of these positions? That's going to be left over at the end of the year.
so, yes, but not exactly the way that you're asking it. What they did, because they couldn't find a, what's it called again?
Adjustment counselor.
Adjustment, I'm so sorry, I can't get these names straight. Adjustment counselor, through the ESSER money. What they did was instead, they shifted the cost of the school psychologist and paid for it with ESSER money. So yes, there will be money left over in theory, in this line, because that salary is now being paid out of ESSER money.
I think I understand, but I guess I'm not going to make any other suggestions out of it.
Okay.
We do have also to vote the change for the superintendent's salary this time, don't we?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Don't we have to vote the change in the
No,
superintendent's?
that's, that will be reflected in our budget, but it is
It'll be a
reflected.
total.
Yeah,
Okay, so we don't have to do that tonight.
correct. It is reflected in the budget,
Yes,
even
I
in
found
draft
it.
3 that we're looking at.
Yes,
Yes.
And that passed right before this, so we don't have to do anything extra here.
got it.
So I kind of have like a question or just a vibe. When Caitlin was here and you guys were kind of chatting about ESSER money and grants and different things, she was kind of saying, it kind of spit out like there is no money. So I guess like who holds that there is money? Like I would assume that's her job. You guys are saying that there is money. I guess my concern would be is there actually money? Who's responsible for spending it? And is it a guarantee year after year that you get these grants? Is it a given that you just apply for them and you get this money?
So it really depends. So that's like, let me try to take it one at a time. Who is responsible for that money? Ultimately, the superintendent is responsible for that, for grants. So I asked the question, that is the information I received back from them. I read it to you from an email that I received from them. So they're supplying me the information. I'm assuming it's accurate because they're supplying it.
Okay.
I think she might be saying there isn't any ESSER money because it's ending. So it was something that was given during COVID for like 2 or 3 years, and they were given a deadline of what it needs to be used by, and I think it needs to be used by the end of September.
Okay.
So like technically there's not more money coming, but we still have a chunk of money that we were allotted that needs to be spent out.
Okay, and who's in charge of that? Making sure that money is spent?
Ultimately, the superintendent.
Okay. And will it be the new superintendent or will it be the former superintendent?
Well, it's the superintendent now,
Yeah.
the current, until June
July
30th when
1.
she
Okay.
leaves. And then July 1, the new superintendent would take over that responsibility.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then obviously the business, department keeps track of it.
Okay.
They're the number people, but yeah.
Okay.
And then, but lastly, to your point though, you automatically get them. So not necessarily, it depends. The federal government sometimes gives allotments that you just have to put in for. And then there are competitive grants, and then there are other revenue sources. So it really depends. So it depends specifically which one you're asking about as to whether we automatically get it. So there's some that we do automatically get because we're a public school, because we meet the criteria, we're low income, or we have, age range, or whatever it is. We meet that criteria, so we know we're going to get it year after year. And then there are others that are competitive, or there are others like ESSER that is only given for a short amount, a specific amount of time, and then that's it. Unless the federal government decides to do, renew it, which they're not.
No.
Yeah. So it's not an easy answer. Does that help you? Okay. Okay.
I was as you were answering her, I was thinking back to the list of unspent grant monies that we were looking at the beginning of September that hadn't been brought to us, but the town said, here, these monies are not spent, these are the grants, and so on. And it was a significant chunk of change that we started out the school year that were grants unspent.
Outside of our operating budget?
Yes, outside of the operating budget, there were grants. I'm trying to come up with a number.
I don't know the number, but it was a lot. It was pretty significant.
Yeah.
We bought a van.
Well, yeah, part of that.
Yeah.
Not we bought part of the van, but.
Okay. Does anybody have anything? I know, Caitlin, I want to give you a minute to
I
double check it.
Yeah, no, I think that supports what we were kind of looking for. And is that amount? Just want to check one more thing. Sorry.
Take your time. We want to get this right.
Okay, yeah, because that number, but then minus the superintendent brings us there.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes sense.
Yep. That's the gross.
Do you?
Okay. So, yeah, no, she was just comparing numbers, making sure that number is correct, and it is.
Gross total elementary.
Yep.
And that's from
Option 3.
Option 3, which
Yeah.
is the one
We're talking
looking
about.
at.
Yep.
And that number, that line is line.
On the very last page, line 104, well,
Yes, got it.
I don't know why it skips 104, 105, 106, but there it is.
Is there any other?
I want to make sure that you're,
I think
You're
I'm
set.
good. I have all the motions, the seconds, and then I'll just look at this for dollar amounts for next.
okay. Mark, are you all set?
Yep.
Are you ready? We'll make a motion to move forward, but I want to make
Yes.
sure that you're all set
Yep.
first. Okay. So, I'll make a motion that we set our FY '25 budget. I'm going to read it out 3 different ways, and I'll explain what I'm saying each time, just so that it's clear. So the gross total elementary budget, the total budget, will be $4,055,112, minus the grants, which are $265,680. So the net total that we'd be looking for from the town would be $3,789,432. $1,789,432. Yes, I believe I said that correctly. So that's my motion.
Second.
Okay, and Mark seconded it.
I just wanted to have it in the order you read it, so we should be good.
Mm-hmm. All set? Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
I'm hearing unanimous. Any abstention? Any objection?
I said aye.
Okay. perfect, great, all right. So, thank you all for hanging in there. I appreciate your questions and your comments. The second is the number of preschool classrooms. We've talked about it at length. Due to the information that we've shared already, but I'll quickly reiterate, the question was posed, how are the enrollment numbers? The enrollment numbers came back to us that there are 8 total enrollments with a potential of up to 15. That does not necessitate 2 full classrooms. So there was a motion, so I'll make the motion to reduce the reduce the number of preschool classrooms down to 1 for the school year 2024-2025.
Second.
We will continue to look closely at these numbers as well as through the next year. And if we see that enrollment is going up, then we will regroup, re-meet, look at the numbers, and make adjustments if necessary.
Just for the record, we asked for each school committee meeting an update from the principal as to any additional students enrolled. And we also stated that we would be able to, change our decision, that it was both within our purvey and within our finances to be able to do that. And finally, we, I don't know, was it a second reading or a first reading of a policy that stated that in the past there was not a statement as to who was responsible for keeping track of all of that, and which led to some confusion last year at the beginning of the school year. And what we said was that it is now the policy that the principal is in charge of making the decision regarding, and as I said, I don't know, was that our first reading, I think, or no, first vote. We have to vote it again.
Yep.
At our next meeting. The principal or their designee would be the person responsible, and if neither one is present, then the decision as to what to do about preschool would devolve to the superintendent's office.
And she was here and agreed with that and
Yeah.
liked that, so that was.
Yeah, last year, neither the principal, who was not hired yet, and the superintendent, who was on vacation, were present when we were bumping up against enrollment numbers, and there was no designee that had been appointed to make a decision. So we wanted to close that gap and make sure that there was a way to make decisions regarding changes that were needed.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Okay, you ready, Caitlin? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Just for clarity, no abstentions, no objections. Okay. All right. So, future business. Next school committee meeting is April 23rd. Please note that's a different date. Generally, we have them, or I should say this April, it falls on vacation, so we bumped it one more week. So April 23rd, 7 p.m. Next policy committee meeting, same date, April 23rd, will be here at 6:30. And then I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn
Second.
at 8:29.
Excellent. All right, motion and a second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.